What if I told you the nutrition coaching industry is hiding something from you? Something so crucial that is actually ruining your chance of getting your clients transformational results. And this is happening with or without you knowing it. It all comes back to big certifications and companies teaching methods that are outdated, not applicable, but also just make coaches feel good, but don't really help anyone. Today, I'm breaking down the most popular nutrition coaching methods and some of the most major drawbacks to be aware of. Now, everyone else may gloss over this stuff, but you need to know it if you want to get your clients results and grow your business. So let's start with number one, habit-based coaching. By far the most popular coaching style out there right now is a habit-based approach. Almost every nutrition certification company out there right now revolves their message around habits, and for good reason. As a coach, you've probably been through a physical transformation yourself, and you know what helps you achieve those results and maintain them were some of the habits you built. But typically what gets you those results weren't just habits alone. You probably started using some form of structure or something objective, like following a workout plan, a meal log, or a tracking-based method. And as you started to get results and you saw that, holy smokes, this is actually working, you became more bought into the process, you stayed consistent, and a lot of those habits started to become second nature to you. And here's the problem. Habits do work. They are the action steps to get a result, but they don't always fit the context around what someone wants to accomplish, and they can take a long time to develop. So the speed and the direction aren't always in your favor. And when this happens, results can suffer, and that can be problematic because the person that is paying you, aka your clients, they want a specific result and they want it yesterday. Let's break down these two drawbacks. The first one being time. The biggest downside to a habit-based coaching approach is that habits take a long time to develop. And since the concept of habit-based coaching is built around starting small and building skills over time, this leads a lot of clients to become frustrated with the lack of progress and start to lose interest in the coaching process. Because the habit they are working on may be important. Maybe they're focusing on eating a serving of protein every time they eat or drinking 3 bottles of water per day, which is fantastic. But this may not lead to body composition changes fast enough, which leaves clients feeling frustrated with the lack of results, and they may end up not sticking to the plan at all. Or just discontinuing coaching altogether because they think, what's the point? This isn't working. And this happens when your client feels that working on these habits is pointless because they don't see what's in it for them. So the speed of putting something into action and getting results is important, but it's also important that it's in the right context. Take a step back and think about the broader context of someone's goal. Take, for example, the habit around eating a serving of protein every time you eat or aiming for 30 grams of protein at every meal. This is a good strategy, but it doesn't really tell you how it fits into the context of the total amount of protein someone should be eating over the course of the entire day, which is more important, or how many total meals to eat, or what happens if you miss protein at one meal. Which means it can work some of the time, but it lacks the overall structure and context to consistently produce results. It's like giving someone one step of an instruction manual to build a dresser, but you never really give them the entire manual. It just doesn't work. Or the habit may not even be applicable for their goal. For example, let's say someone wants to lose weight. Eating enough protein at each meal can work, but it doesn't address how much total calories someone should be eating. And when you don't create the context around that, it doesn't really matter if they eat protein at every meal. Overall, this method alone leaves many coaches and clients feeling stuck, frustrated, and burnt out. I've certified hundreds of nutrition coaches in my nutrition certification program called the Dr. Mark Method. Most of the nutrition coaches that come to me, they reach out because they're following a habit-based approach and their clients aren't getting results. Or it works well for one of their clients, but not for another, and they're spinning their head thinking, why isn't this working? And they end up feeling resentful and they can't grow their business because they don't have enough testimonial content, and their current clients aren't referring their friends and family to them. So what's the solution here? Don't abandon habit-based coaching. Use it as an example to show someone what to do, the action steps, and then hold them accountable to those action steps. But let the habits fill an overall structure that makes sense for your client's goals. Using a more prescriptive method where you're assigning calories and macronutrients to your client's diet, or using a meal plan based on these values is a quicker path to your client's results. This is going to motivate them and get them much more bought into the process, making them want to keep going and getting much more interested in improving their health and their nutrition. A mix of both of these approaches is the best of both worlds. It gets your clients results, and they also start to build habits, and they become much more motivated to keep working on those habits long term. Now, related to habit-based coaching is number 2, client-centered coaching. Client-centered coaching is the cornerstone of all nutrition and personal training education. It's the basic idea that the client is the authority on their own life. And our job as the coach is to listen to them, provide understanding and reassurance, and use their experience to create their program, which on its own is good. You want to craft your coaching recommendations and their program to the client's experience and what they need. That's the entire basis of one-on-one coaching, but a lot of nutrition certifications and personal training certifications take this premise way too far and put way too much of the coaching process into the client's hands. A lot of times leading nutrition coaches to setting some wishy-washy goals with their clients that never really lead to anywhere. They start their weekly check-ins or calls by asking the client, what do you want to work on this week? Or what do you think would help you reach your goal? And here's the deal, our clients, they don't know. That's why they hired us. You are the expert, the guide, the person that is one step ahead of them. As coaches, we are the authority in this area, not the client. If they were, they would have already achieved their goal on their own. So basing your coaching process around what the client feels they should do and not around what you know as the expert is going to work is going to lead to subpar results. And honestly, our clients don't like it either. Our clients want to be led and they want to feel confident that the hard work they're putting into this process is going to lead to a certain result. So what's the solution here? Just like habit-based coaching, we need to find some room in the middle by finding a mixed approach. So you meet your client as the expert and the authority where they're at, and then you listen to your client about potential obstacles, things that may get in the way, and any hesitations or lack of skills, and adjust the plan accordingly to where they're at. For example, let's say a client wants to lose 10 pounds. You assess where they're at and come to them with a calorie and macronutrient target that takes into account what they're doing right now and what would help them reach their goal. And you also explain to them that you're not asking them to track calories and macronutrients. Based on what they've described to you, this is going to be the most effective way for them to get the specific result of losing 10 pounds. But then they may have some situations that come up that make this coaching approach difficult. For example, they have a movie night every Friday night with their significant other where they order takeout and drink some red wine, which makes it hard or difficult to track, or they just don't want to track. This is the type of situation where you and your client can collaborate on a solution together. This may be doing a calorie cycling approach where they're given more calories to work in this social interaction on Friday. Or maybe it's the compromise of trying something new for takeout that's a bit more macro friendly. This is where you can flex your client-centered skills and come up with a solution that's a bit more client focused, but will still help them stay on track within the structure in a way that still feels doable for them. And doing this within what you know is in the best interest for your client and their results allows you to create a repeatable process. If you are always doing things differently from client to client or constantly backpedaling depending on what a client tells you they will or won't do, you're going to have a hard time creating repeatable results for your clients. But when we stick to being the expert and telling our clients exactly what they need to do, but also finding solutions that are client-centered as they come up, it's a win-win for both you and your client. Your client is going to feel confident that they're going to reach a result by following your expert guidance, which increases motivation and adherence, but they're also going to feel understood and more capable of tackling the situations that come up in life that would previously derail them because you've tailored your recommendations to help solve them. Now we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about the complete opposite side of this industry. And these are number 3, the hyper-prescriptive forms of coaching. This would be meal plans and pre-portioned containers, but also rule-based diets like keto and carnivore, or anything that gives a rigid plan with little to no flexibility. If habit-based coaching and a client-centered approach were on this end of the spectrum, these hyper-prescriptive methods would be on the complete opposite end. Now, the thing about these methods is that when they are being followed, they work, they produce results. Because for the most part, they take out the challenges that make a diet hard to follow. But at the end of the day, where habit-based coaching comes out ahead is once this result is achieved, it's much easier to sustain. And hyper-prescriptive plans are not. These plans, while they are effective, are just telling you exactly what to eat and not teaching your client how to eat, which can lead to problems with sustainability, meaning the client has a hard time following it long enough to see results. But also, if they do see results, they don't really understand why it worked. If they lose 20 pounds doing keto, it's because they think they dropped all of their carbs instead of following a calorie deficit. And at the end of the day, our clients are real people with busy and unpredictable lives. And while some people can maybe grit out 3 months or 6 months following a restrictive plan, it becomes increasingly difficult to follow this way of eating long term. Now, with that being said, there are some advantages of telling someone what to eat for inspiration. By supplying a meal plan or even erring on the side of low carb or low fat, depending on someone's meal preferences. But for long-term success and education, a more flexible plan will always be better. All in all, the middle ground is typically the best option. There are pros and cons to all of these popular methods, and believe it or not, a lot of clever marketing behind getting a coach to buy into that specific approach. But that's a topic for a different day. For now, understand this. In my experience, it's best to follow the path that leads your client to the results that you promised them, and also what's going to improve their health and quality life, both in the short term and long term. And with that being said, although this video wasn't sponsored, it was certainly supported by the students of the Dr. Mark method, with all the students that we put through this certification program in the last 5 years. If you want more details on this world-class certification program, go to the first link in the description below. At the end of the day, as coaches, our North Star is always going to be our clients' results. They hired you because that's what's most important to them. But the key is getting them bought into the process and sticking to a plan long enough to see significant progress. Or some fitness influencers' way of doing things, follow the evidence. What's working, what's not working, and what is not only evidence-based, but what's also delivering results in the short term and the long term. And by doing this, you can leave your clients in a better place than you found them and instill them with a greater appreciation of their health and well-being. Now, as great as all those tips are, if you're really serious about starting a nutrition coaching business, the next thing I'm gonna have you do is check out this video I've linked up right here. As you consider different nutrition coaching approaches, you probably wanna have a better understanding of what the best nutrition certification would be for you. And I'm gonna teach you all about that in the video I've linked up right here. So check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video.